I know a lot of people, a lot of guys said they've always dreamed of being in a baseball player in the big league. But for me, I've always wanted to be a philosopher. And my friends have always said, you can be a philosopher.
Doesn't mean much.
Well, I don't know. That's part of it. I mean, for me, Socrates was the big one. I guess he started the brand. He said that a philosopher is a lover of wisdom, by which he means someone who lives by the truth that she works out for herself. Someone who has integrity. So I'm not really ready for that, but I thought that I could build up to it. So I've been reading about the philosophers. I've been reading Montaigne, his life, about his life. I've been reading about the life of Richard Rorty, and both of these philosophers, for me, they like uncertainty, which I just seem to always find that every time I try to philosophize. And you could call them philosophers of uncertainty and sort of brokenness, because they also think that people are just broken. They're just turned in on themselves and upside down and twisted and contorted. And then you have to figure out how to live the good life, given this uncertainty and egoism. So that's philosophy as I understand it. Its twin, its cousin, is theology, which is, I think, maybe even a better thing sometimes, because theology allows for story. So that's nice. Because some things are hard to explain. And poetry as well. And so somewhere between philosophy and poetry, I hope to find a vocation. But I'm not so sure. So given this introduction, I would think that where I could go with this is sort of to unfold my map of life, and sort of show y'all the important spots. But if given my uncertainty and brokenness, I would think that it would be a kind of crumpled map, and that it would not have much on it, much of it erased. So I tried to actually do this kind of map, and it wasn't impressive, given the uncertainty, given the brokenness. So this philosophy business or theology business is not, maybe not for me. I don't know. I'm still trying to figure it out. The uncertainarians, I think of them sometimes, Montaigne and Rorty, they tend to guard their solitude, which again throws me back on this question of maybe theology is the better gig, because at least there you get to sing together, you get to hang out together. There's fellowship. There's liturgy, which means like they write it for you, so you don't have to come up with it all yourself. And then there's story. Story is always front and center, and the communal life, and I kind of like that part of it. If I had to come up with a philosophy, I think forgiveness would be an important thing, because it's relatively easy to forgive yourself, because you were right in the first place, and in the last analysis you were more sinned against than sinner. But it's hard to forgive other people because, well, I don't have to explain that to y'all. But think about how important forgiveness is to a meaningful life. Think about all the great works of film and literature and religion to put this act at the center, like Jesus forgives the Romans, Ian McEwan's novel Atonement is about forgiveness, J.M. Coetzee's novel Disgrace, Ishiguro's Never Let Me Go, all this is about forgiveness. So I thought, well, this has got to be an important thing, because I like all those novelists, and that religion appeals to me sometimes, and so I've got to do something about forgiveness. And so I was thinking, well, what's the hardest thing to forgive? And at first I thought, well, betrayal, because someone makes a promise, and then they break the promise, and then you have to forgive them. It sort of goes in that order. But I don't really think that's such a hard thing to forgive, given the fact that it's really hard to keep promises, and who knows about your own participation in pushing the promise keeper into the promise-breaking zone. So, ultimately what I've arrived at is that the hardest thing to forgive is that other people have selves. You know, your friend, your mate, your parent, your child has a self, and you can add absorption to it if you want, but it amounts to the same thing. People have selves, it makes it difficult to hear others, to see them. So my philosophy begins with the absolute necessity of acknowledging the absolute suckiness of self, which is not original. This is Sartre and Jesus and Buddha. So where do we go from here? We lovers of wisdom, I don't know, owing to the uncertainty factor. I would like to tell some jokes about it, owing to the egoism factor. But perhaps we can swap stories about it, and maybe the communal aspect will pull us out of ourselves for a while.